The other faces on the monitors continue to float around, staring at you. Some of them seem to just be focused in on you, and some of them are just looking elsewhere, and some of them are just, they look like their eyes are closed and they're just asleep behind the screen. You are now free to leave the chamber of the shareholders. And in fact, it's recommended that you do because once they go into shutdown, you hear a computer warning say, "Warning, filling chamber with cryogenic gas. Death is immediate. Please vacate the chamber."
Oh.
Oh.
Well, I
I gotta get out of here!
for this business opportunity, and I will not let you down. Okay, let's go quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, as you're running towards the wall to escape where the exit is clearly marked, you notice that there are 100 doors, 100 different doors that could exit out of this. And so I'm going to need each of you, as this chamber begins to fill with cryogenic gas, to roll a 1d100.
Is there any difference between the doors at all, or are they all just completely identical?
Some of them have like what looks like a woman running up the stairs. Another one has what looks like a baby just kind of like walking and like turning sideways like they recognize somebody, but then they change their mind and it's like not somebody they knew. Another one has like a monkey holding a flag and just waving it.
Oh.
Ooh, look at that. So you guys all go through different doors as you're rushing to escape. The chamber is filling with gas. This could be it. You just coming out of the tanks and you could be immediately killed. And then when you get to the other side of the doors that you each respectively took, you're actually just all in the same room. They were all going to the same place. They were just different doors, arbitrarily divided into 100 different passages, but they all went to the same blank white room. Luckily, though, what the part that isn't just to fuck with you is the fact that you can feel on the other side, because the door is made of metal, you can feel it's immediately like ice cold by the time you like get through to this like giant enormous white room. You did avoid getting cryogenically frozen. It's a good job. You are stuck in a white room where there is a single individual sitting next to a desk behind which are stacked boxes that say complimentary corporate uniforms. That person is just has their hands folded and is just staring at your group. The room itself is quite wide, broad, about the size of a school auditorium, roughly. But there's nothing in it other than this desk, those boxes, you, and this person behind the desk. A person who has very combed back blonde hair, big wide blue eyes, and a very thin lipped smile upon their face. And a gun. Yes, they just take out a gun and start shooting. No, it's not the thing that happens yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
But it will.
So the clothes is it like a pile of pants and a pile of shirts and a pile of underwear, or is it like each person has their own little pile?
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, each one's divided up into a set with like shirt, pant, underwear, socks, keychain.
How nice are these clothes?
They're like hospital or prison clothes. They're bare bones utility.
Well,
Normal takes the one specifically in the middle.
The person behind the desk, when you go to reach for it, slowly begins to draw a long, thin knife from underneath the desk. What do you think you're doing?
They said, get dressed and coupons.
Oh no.
Every time this person says no, he backs up just a little bit more.
Yeah. They said do volunteer work, and you're going to do the volunteer work here at the facility to earn the right to wear clothes. Otherwise, you'll be wet, naked messes that will get souped. Go out into the sunlight with your terrible, naked, wet bodies like wet, naked, oily pigs, and you'll be souped. My job is to make sure that anyone who comes out of the tanks doesn't get souped. And I'd rather not see you get souped. So do me the favor and kindness of just doing the volunteer work so that you don't get souped.
What is our volunteer work to do?
Ah, she slowly slides the knife back into place under the desk. You are a good volunteer, so I will tell you. What you need to do is file the paperwork, make coffee, and of course, pick up the dry cleaning. That is all that I ask as part of being a supervisor. Do you know how many times I've thought of that title and the irony within it? Supervisor. Supervisor. She draws the knife out slowly again. You can see that once she's pulled it out entirely, it's about a foot long and it's about as wide as her finger, just very thin. She just looks at the blade and just flips it over casually, just stares at it. Oh no. I need to reapply my blush. Could one of you also do me the kindness? Should you see blush while you are doing your intern work, if you could provide me with the blush, I will provide you with something nice for your time in the world. If you don't find me the blush, I will not take it personally. Or maybe I will. I have to check the employee manual for that. And then she puts the knife back and takes out a small black book and begins to flip through it. Do you want to know where you're doing the volunteer work?
Yes. Please. So we
Also,
do it.
what kind of blush? What color?
She looks back at you. What color do you think?
What does it look like she is wearing?
She isn't
Oh,
wearing any makeup.
I don't know anything about makeup. I'm not even entirely sure what blush is. Maybe some sort of pink.
Then pink it will be. Now find the pink blush, and you will have your reward. But be warned, Marvin lurks the halls, he who has not been caught. I will find Marvin, and I will flay him. Should you see Marvin, do not speak to him. Do not trade contact information with him. Do not take his business card. Do not listen to his speech. He is rogue, and he will die.
Jesus.
You want us to report if we see him while we are
Yes, that
running
would,
away?
if you could just go ahead and report that you've seen Marvin, that would be very appreciated.
Well, anything that will please you, darling.
Do any of you need your parking validated?
We've yet to earn car rights, so I'm sure we don't.
Wonderful. Then I wish you well in this, your most glorious day of birth.
Why, thank you. Please give us directions to the locations necessary, and I would be careful of your dental work.
Oh, it's fine. I've had them replaced at least 4 times. What could a 5th hurt? My insurance will cover it. You should go to the East Wing if you are interested in coffee and dry cleaning. For the filing, look towards the West Wing. There you will find papers that need to be sorted. But be warned, the coffee is complimentary. That is all. She goes back to what she was doing sort of when you came in, which is just stacking blank sheets of paper, flipping them over, resorting them back into the pile, stacking them, flipping them over, picking up one blank piece of paper, reading it, even though there's nothing on it, sorting it back in, stacking the paper. It's what she is doing.
While we're naked. This is a very weird team building exercise.
So, sorting papers requires you to go to a room in the East Wing. You'll notice there's a office door that just says paperwork. You find a massive, massive amount of papers that are just stacked up all over the fucking place on very cheap desks and furniture. You are still naked. There are different ways that you can try to cover yourself.
I don't know. I feel like clothing yourself in paper is just asking for paper cuts in horrible places, so probably not.
Then, kind of goopy and in pain, you now have a bit of time to speak to one another. You have likely run into each other in the virtual environment before, although your jobs don't have a ton of crossover. Actually, that's not true. Nermal and Ellie, I would imagine, have some crossover because of maintenance and Greenpeace or green space creation and maintenance. It's likely you two have some crossover, but Melvin, on the other hand, you may only know as someone who just makes sure that you're smiling and doing your job well, I would imagine.
These two don't seem to smile much.
You're a little suspicious of them, I suppose,
Yeah.
and the unhappiness that they may feel. In the virtual reality thing, it's basically like living in dorms almost, is how you were compartmentalized. So you may have been not necessarily like roommates, but living in the same quarter, so to speak, and been familiar with them, or just brush up against them while you're doing your work and your various training exercises.
She probably knows them by faces, but not really in too much interaction beyond that.
So it seems like all of you are kind of casual acquaintances, but not necessarily like know each other well. Sorting these papers according to how they need to be sorted seems to be a very difficult task. We'll say the aspects here, I'll write them down. They are messy and they are a vague goal. So if you need to invoke, we'll say that you have your full 4 points, fate points to do these. If you need to invoke, you have these 2 scene aspects to invoke off of if you need to. The question is then, like, they would just want you to sort all of these papers, or sort some of them as part of your volunteer work to get clothing. Then how is it that you would like to begin sorting? There's one person in your group in particular that's pretty good at sorting, or at least more inclined towards it.
I guess Normal would sort of take a few, like, anxious steps forward, like, oh, okay, shit, this place is crazy, okay, and he'd just, like, sort of lift different stacks to see, like, do they have anything in common, or completely random, or...
Give me a maintenance roll. Okay. You know, you were familiar with machines, sort of. You're familiar with some mechanisms, and you know generally when things are placed in a certain way, it's what they're meant to be placed as. This is also something Ellie might have some experience with. However, when you go to lift a certain paper, you hear a click.
Click?
Yep.
What do you do? What is the click?
It's just a small metal click.
Normal tries to look closer to see what is this click.
There is a small, we'll say, card shape, what looks like charge that's been placed with a very small pressure-based mechanism. By lifting the piece of paper, you have activated it. It is a tiny mine.
Oh.
It has not yet detonated, but it exists.
What did explodes? Be careful what you touch. And he just sort of like frantically gestures at it, his words failing him.
You could at any moment be exploded. You hear a timer starting to go off, a small series of ticks now that you've lifted it.
So I mean, like his stand could eat it, maybe, but
you could eat all these papers, but my character would be like, save the papers.
You have to save the papers. Give me a quick sorting roll. Okay. Passive difficulty 3. Do you want to succeed with a consequence, or do you want to fate point it?
I will succeed with a consequence.
You notice, sort of a little bit too late, perhaps, that judging by the size of the plate, your experience with maintenance, and the papers that were above the one that you just lifted, it's likely weight-based. And if you're going to disarm this device or any other devices that may be within the stack, you're going to need to organize a stack by weight. The stacks need to be weight organized. You succeeded with the consequence because as you were figuring this out, your piece of paper sort of slides off a little because you're nervous and because this is a very crazy situation. It will explode within the next, we'll say 5 seconds. You can tell by the clicks getting faster unless you or your friends quickly organize it according to proper weight. You have 5 seconds to tell this information to them, or you have 5 seconds to try to do it by yourself.
Normal screams, by weight! Organize it by weight!
My character would start assisting at speed.
Give me a, we'll say, morale check. So as you're trying to assist with this, you're able to organize this by weight, but you notice that once you move some papers around to try and organize the stack that Normal's holding, disarming the bomb, there is another bomb just clear and free from a stack of papers you just lifted off of. In fact, it seems to have been organized. Now, as a morale person and someone who understands workflow, this entire stack of papers has been organized to cause you to look for the solution, find it, put it where you think it needs to be, and then reveal another bomb. And realizing that there is likely a chain of bombs here specifically meant to target the human psyche, something you specialize in, you have to figure out a solution, or you're going to be stuck here endlessly shuffling papers and waiting for an explosion to go off at any moment. That is your solution. You've at least kept any bombs from going off right now. Ellie, this could be your time to shine. Seeing that you're two associates here, people you've been forced to work with, are in trouble, and knowing that this is maybe your one shot to be able to bloom and get out of this situation, what do you think you can do?
It's organized by weight, so my thinking is obviously to distribute them evenly, you have to kind of figure out the, I guess, approximate weight of each stack, maybe? So I was thinking going along that route, yeah.
Trying to evenly distribute them by each stack by weight. I will say, as you're doing that, give me a sorting roll again, Normal. Jesus, you succeed very well, Normal. And seeing as Ellie's trying to help you organize that these will not be distributed evenly at all. There just isn't enough paper. Some of them are bundled together. Some of them are printed on a thicker stock than others, so that they look like they're normal weight, but they're not. And trying to do this all by hand just so quickly is like you need a machine to do this sort of work, not a person. None of you are like that kind of gifted, it seems like, as you all are trying to struggle and scramble to keep these papers from detonating, more or less.
We can tell how much weight we need, though, now?
You have a vague idea of how much weight, yeah, by judging by how the devices will click on and off and begin to start their timer. You can sort of get an idea of what each stack sort of need, but it is like very difficult to do on the fly, organizing all of them. Two solutions that I can think of for this problem, but I will let you guys figure it out. If you have trouble, I'll throw you a bone, I guess.
It's sagging at one end, or does it look like it's perfectly even right now?
For a fate point, you can make it sag on one end if you feel like that's going to help you in some way. And yes, there is a potted plant in there. There's also, by the way, a water cooler in there.
I will definitely pay that fate.
Pay one fate point. The table now has a little wobble to it. Dramatically, the table wobbles a little with the rise of the music.
I feel like that might actually help because it maybe throws off mine's sense of weight, and pressure is not quite right.
In my perspective, that would just make your job more difficult, but I mean, because then you may actually get the right weight, and it'll just read it as not being the right weight, and then just start ticking even though you've stacked it right. You know what I mean? Perfectly willing to let the table wobble work in your favor, of course, but I feel like that's going to make it more chaotic, basically, for you. In a situation where you may not want it to be chaotic, in the same way that if you had a monkey juggling a bunch of grenades, pulling the pin out of one doesn't make it a better situation if you don't want to get blown up. Also, a monkey juggling grenades is probably going to be a thing at some point.
Party Bus Monkey returns.
We could use the potted, like, all we need is a weight distribution, right? So if we grab something else in the room, we should be able to take some papers off, put the potted plant down. Do your green job, would you? And she'll point to one of the plants.
She just looks,
I think it would be better situated on one of these lovely stacks that have less than they should, perhaps. Don't you think so?
Yes. Now excitedly just goes to retrieve the plant.
When you're going to retrieve the plant, you notice there is somebody else in the room, standing there sipping a cup of coffee, wearing a suit, staring at you, just sipping his coffee.